This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is George Roach, the CEO of Premier African Minerals, following a funding announcement relating to the DFS funding at Zulu Lithium. So, George, welcome. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm well, and it's good to be talking to you.
Good. Well, thank you for your time. So the RNS is that Suzhou, which I hope I'm saying correctly, Suzhou TANA Ultra Clean Technology have agreed to subscribe to 3 billion shares at a price of 0.4, which would translate to about £12 million. Completion within 15 days with an immediate payment to Prem of 1.2 million. So, first of all, George, what are your comments to shareholders on this news, and what does it mean for the DFS work at Zulu?
Well, let's deal with the second part of that question first, and that is that the DFS is now more than fully funded, whilst the majority of this money will go to the DFS and will allow us to accelerate components of the DFS, and perhaps do some more fine-tuning on some aspects of it. Part of it will also be used for our normal working capital requirements within Prem. So it puts Premier in a position where at this time, we're completely funded to completion of the DFS later this year is the anticipation. And from an overall funding perspective, I think Prem is well funded for a significant period into the future as well. So from that point of view, I'm delighted. And then to come on to the second component, which relates to our shareholders. And I like to remind people that I'm also a shareholder in this company as well. So I have my own concerns as to where our share price is going. I think that this route that we have taken allows Premier African Minerals to retain control of in fact, to retain 100% of the Zulu project. And it brings on board a very strong partner. I sort of spent a bit of time, obviously, over the last couple of months in various conversations with so many different prospective investors and prospective partners and so on. And I've gone through the hula hoops of whether one looks at some kind of a joint venture or whether one goes along this route. And I must say that looking at the movement in commodity prices, the escalation in values, hearing one or two others who did deals not that long ago, effectively kind of saying, well, maybe we should have hung on for a while. With all of those things around, I think that this route is probably the fairest to our shareholders, and I include our new investors in this as part of our shareholders as well. And this will allow us to complete the issues that will underpin what I believe to be very significant value to come out of Prem, to be able to properly assess it, and for us all to appreciate it properly and hopefully benefit better from this route than the alternative of some form of partial or complete disposal or 50-50 JV or whatever it was going to be in relation to the Zulu project. So I know those are my views. I'm very positive about it. I think that at the end of the day, it gives us all the best and fairest way of dealing with Zulu and Prem as we go forward.
Okay. Now you mentioned acceleration of the DFS. Could you give any timelines?
Well, I'm reluctant, and I've learned so many lessons over the years in terms of timelines. I think that the original timeline was to complete by sometime in Q3. I think that we'd probably, with COVID and various other things over December and then into January, we'd probably be looking at the potential for that to slip a little. Accelerating this is going to bring it back. And depending on the level of risk that we are prepared to accept in terms of overall construction costs and various issues like that, we would probably be in a position to have comfort that we've got a flow sheet that works and that we can look to start with building activities before the end of this year. So I think if that's what we can get to, I think that's pretty rapid. And that's the kind of target that we're setting.
Okay. Now, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about Suzhou. Who are they, what they like about Zulu, and why they've got involved?
Well, I think that you need to look no further than some of the companies associated with them. And some of that's set out in the RNS. They are a 75% shareholder in a joint venture with a lithium processor that aims to push its hydroxide production from the 45,000 tons at the moment to something like 160,000 tons per annum in pretty short order. They've concluded some major takeoff agreements through this associate. And it's clear to me that with the huge increase in hydroxide and some carbonate production that is planned, that access to supply is the important thing. The other thing that has come through in this discussion is that we can call on some fairly significant expertise and some help as we go through these last stages of the DFS. And then perhaps the most important thing to me is that the prime interest is in the takeoff, is in accessing the spodumene. And as I've set out in the DFS as well, part of the rights that are associated with the subscription is a 6-month window to an exclusive window to negotiate the future and the future development and so on of Prem and of Zulu. And my own views tend to move to the direction of I'd rather have decent off-takers in place and debt fund the operation and the build of this mine. I think to me that is the ultimate way that we should try and take this forward, and it is allowed for within where we are. The other very important feature of this is that at the moment 50% of the takeoff is dedicated to our investors, but 50% remains with Prem. So that we can deal with in whatever way we're going to deal with it into the future. And that goes to underline some of my comments earlier about not trying to determine what the value is now, not trying to necessarily predict it, but rather putting us in a position where we can see where it's going, understand what escalations or whatever has happened with the price, and then adjust and deal with the balance of the takeoff accordingly. So hopefully we've created a situation where we kind of got the best of both worlds. Maybe there are more than two worlds, I don't know. Yeah. But I think that that's what we're trying to achieve. And I think that this gives us the opportunity to do just that.
Okay. And how long has this deal been in the works, George? And you say the best of both worlds. Has it taken quite a while to sort this out? And do you feel that it is the best of both worlds for both you and the partner, and of course the security of Zulu?
Look, dealing with the last part of that, yes, I do. In terms of how long has this particular negotiation with our investors here taken, it hasn't taken that long. I think that as I've been saying for a long time, we've had lots and lots of other negotiation that's been ongoing. We've had indicative terms presented for JV type agreements and so on. But the Schuster guys were prepared to come to finality on the kind of terms that we have here very quickly, have indicated that they're a very strong partner from the point of view of being able to arrange finance, build, and so on. You've only got to look at as I say, some of the associates and some of the other projects that they're directly and indirectly involved in to appreciate that. And I think at the end of the day, this whilst it came together fairly quickly, is, as I've said before, my preference, and I think it's the better way for us to go forward.
Okay. The RNS also talked about the right of Schuster to appoint a board member. Can you give any indication on that?
Well, I'm very pleased about that. We're only 4 on the board at the moment, and we need additional skills, competencies, and so on the board. So not only do they have a right to ask us to make an appointment to the main board, but they will also make appointments to the boards of the subsidiaries of the project in Zulu and of the intermediate company that holds the Zulu shares. And I'm very happy about that. In fact, I welcome it. I welcome whatever input and skills there are when it comes to this. It's far too big an operation to try and handle with the limited resources that Prem has tried to handle much of it with up to now.
Okay. And will these funds be used exclusively for the DFS? Will it cost the full 12 million?
No, it won't. The budget to complete prior to this investment was at this stage approximately 4.9 million US to complete. We're obviously going to spend more than that now because of the ability to accelerate certain areas, the ability to throw additional resources at aspects of it that I think need it. So there are a whole lot of benefits that come out of it. So no, but the funds are primarily to fund the Zulu DFS, but not exclusively.
Okay. And can you comment on future investment from Schuster in Prem at this stage?
No, because it hasn't been discussed and agreed yet. Do I anticipate that it will, and do I anticipate that this forms a basis for very efficient and effective longer-term development? That I clearly believe. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing the deal, and neither would they. It's I think they'll get a decent return on their shares. I certainly hope they do, but I don't think they're in it to sell, and I have no doubt that they don't want to. So I think that it represents the best opportunity for the best and most cost-effective developments as we go into the future.
Okay. Well, let's just finish by speaking about the market for a minute or two. What with a number of commodities soaring to all-time highs, and just yesterday the LME suspending nickel trading temporarily. Lithium prices also at all-time highs. Have you seen anything like this before, George, in all your time in this sector? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, we've seen some strange things happening in the past. I can't help having the feeling that perhaps in some areas and some aspects we're perhaps overreacting a little. And that doesn't mean I'm trying to condone anything that's happening. I think it's absolutely, to express a personal opinion, horrific, and the quicker it ends, the better. But I think that we'll all adapt through this. It may take many years to get back to proper normality. I think that will come. I can't help feeling that there's and nickel is a classic one. I just feel that's just an overreaction for the moment, and it'll adjust. I think it will. So yeah, no definitive predictions there. Those I don't like making. But I believe, I'm repeating myself, I believe that this will settle and we'll work our way through this.
Okay. Well, George Roach, the CEO of Premier African Minerals, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.